Be like, damn, slow down. I know you see a queen adjusting her crown. She been knocked down, but she never stayed down. She been living life like it's her playground. And they be like, damn, slow down. They can catch us, she be moving too fast. She can't wait up, she be all in her bag.
Also breaking right now, the family of South Georgia teen found dead in a gym mat almost 10 years ago, speaking out against a recent ruling just yesterday that's closing the case. This is the father of Kendrick Johnson. This is Kenneth Johnson. Let's listen in.
The findings, what happened to Willie Jane Williams. The same thing that this sheriff department will do again and again if the people do not stand up and fight for what is right and make them do what's right. This is the sheriff department known to cover up. Known to cover up things. When you had Willie Jane Williams laying inside this jailhouse, dying, and this same sheriff allegedly covered up what happened to Willie Jane Williams, and the same thing that he come back and trying to do now. Sheriff Ezra Pope, you didn't have anything to do with it, as you say. But the lies you put on this paper made you just a part of the cover-up and the conspiracy of what's going on in my son's case. And I will fight as long as I have to uncover what exactly happened to Kendrick Johnson. People, do not take my word for it. Do your research.
So where do you guys go from here? What's your next step?
We keep pushing. We have students was at that schoolhouse that year. They are reaching out to us. And that's what I want to say to the students. You have in the end, if you have any information, contact the sheriff department. I say to the students, do not go in alone. Do not go in from an attorney around here in Lowndes County. Record everything you say to these people so they won't try to turn it around and make you out of a liar. Send it to the Justice Department.
And this is Kenneth Johnson, the father of Kendrick Johnson, who was found it's been almost a decade.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. If you guys are a part of the winter storm, I hope you guys are staying safe and staying warm. Just to get started, yes, for the people that may think I have on the same shirt for yesterday, I don't. In honor of Black History, today's shirt says Black girls are lit, because we are. Duh. But no, getting into a serious topic. Today we're going to be talking about Kendrick Johnson. Now, the opening was his father speaking out about his son. And I felt it was important to highlight his father because most of the time we always hear from the women. We always hear from the victims' mothers. And I told you guys that I wholeheartedly believe that there is some type of fetish attached with the news medias and media outlets and their fetish for seeing Black women cry on TV. So I wanted to flip that and actually show his father today. I thought that was just a great piece. We rarely get to see Black fathers shine in such a positive light, but Kendrick Johnson's father and mother are still married. They have multiple children. He came from a 2-parent home. I mean, not that that matters to anyone else, but it matters to us because we know how they like to paint us. We know the things that people like to say about our culture and our family dynamic. And this family, like I said in my title, is really stopping at nothing to get justice for their son. They live in a very, very controversial city in the state of Georgia. It's known as Valdosta. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this is a very bad part of Georgia. So like when we talk about Georgia, a lot of people think of Atlanta. A lot of people think of like the Black Mecca, which is Atlanta. This is the complete opposite. This is what we would consider the dirty South, not in a good way. Like prejudice, racism, a lot of hate crimes happen there, a lot of cover-ups happen there. This is very much so still prominent even in 2022. So I wanted to make that a statement by showing you guys that this is a family unit. This is a group of family that lives in a very, very racist town. They are still together. They are still fighting for their son. So let's go ahead and break down the story. Now, I want to give you guys a timeline of Kendrick Johnson because I asked you guys about a week ago if you guys knew about him, and a lot of people was like, yeah, but still talk about it. A lot of people don't know all of the horrific details about this case and how his family has been treated in regards to him, as well as how they've been treated with just trying to get justice. So on January 10th, 2013, 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was at school like any other sophomore. He was a sophomore in school. And when it was time for him to come home, his mom, Jackie, was waiting on him and he did not show. She called and the school bus, they was like, oh, he wasn't on the bus today. She waited for the school. They said that they hadn't seen him. And then she eventually called the police. And when she called the police to report that she thought her son, she was worried about her son because this is not something that he does, the weirdest thing right out the gate jumped out. The police officer was like, oh, he's probably laid up with some girl. Like, that's weird. But she still nonetheless was like, okay, I'll wait, because I told her to wait a few more hours. And she said that, when she was waiting that night, she just felt something come over her, and she kind of knew, she had a sense of that they were so connected that she knew that somehow that connection was gone, like that he was no longer here. His soul was no longer here. So January 11th, the very next day, she was calling up to the school. They were not giving her any information. So she eventually goes up to the school and she finds out that her son, Kendrick Johnson, was rolled up inside of a mat from the gym, a gym mat, and that he was not alive. When this happened, I would say news media broke out because this is a tragic event that happened inside of a school, a high school at that. This is a Black boy in a very, very controversial city, town, whatever you want to call it. And the mom and dad immediately was looking for answers because they did not know, one, how yesterday no teachers, did y'all see him in class? Did y'all report his absences? When we were calling, you guys were not giving us that many answers. And then when we went to the school, you guys even refused to let us view the gym. So it wasn't until the Kendrick was actually removed from the gym and he was taken to, of course, the coroner's office. Now, after he was taken to the coroner's office, the father states that when he went there, the coroner's office was extremely warm. He did not know at first if it was warm because his anxiety was everywhere. He didn't know what to think. But when it was time to view Kendrick Johnson's body, when they pulled him out of what should be the freezer, like, where we see on the movies where it's like a cold gush of air comes out, when they opened the freezer that contained Kendrick's body, it was warm air that came out. And this is alleged by the father, Kenneth. He spoke out and he said that it was warm. So right then and there, this was strike number 2. They were still feeling uneasy. And I will say that while I looked into this case and while I've been learning about this case for years, I can say that his family seems to be very, very strong in their spirit. Like they have a strong spirit. So everything that they're saying, I have no choice but to believe, and not believe because I feel like, oh, I just got to ride for my people. But I more so believe it because you can kind of feel like they know what they're talking about, because as I lay out this story, there is only one thing that can keep them this strong, and it has to be their spirit and their love for their son, because it's just that heartbreaking. So everything that I roll out to you guys and all the little details that I bring out to you guys, I'm saying it for a reason. It's to strike some type of thought process in you. Words and symbols mean a lot of things. So when we say things, it's not just because, oh, we're just pointing out the little things and nitpicking. They really do matter. So like I stated, it was a gush of warm air that came out of the freezer instead of cool air. And Kenneth stated when he saw his son, it did not look like his son was himself. There is very graphic pictures of Kenneth Johnson everywhere, and we can say that the images are eerily similar to Emmett Till. He did not look like himself. His face was severely swollen and bruised, and he could tell that even though his son was not alive. As you see in the picture on the screen, he did not look anything like that. He was literally black and blue, and he was swollen. Lip was swollen, everything. So immediately the family wanted answers. They wanted to know exactly what happened to their son and why. And oddly enough, the school immediately came out and said it was an accident. They said that their son had accidentally rolled himself into a gym mat because the students throw their shoes inside of a gym mat, and that is where they store them during gym. Well, once the autopsy came back, it was like most of the time autopsies are done, and if they have no ruling, if it can't be set off facts and not theories, they rule things undetermined. But with this one, eerily enough, they stated that this was an accident and it was asphyxia. Basically, he lost breath while he was going down inside of a mat, and he basically could no longer breathe. Now, people immediately called bullshit, because how could you roll yourself into a mat? Number one. Number two, the way that his body was fixed in the mat did not show that he was down in a mat. One arm was up and one arm was down. So his arms, one was over his head and one was down, and his feet was crossed. If we're going to go with the story that he went down there to get his shoes, how could he position himself with only one arm? Really strange. So the parents was immediately asking for answers immediately, like they wanted to know exactly what was going on, but it felt like the Valdosta Police Department wanted this to be an open and closed case. They didn't really want to mention anything about what was going on. If you guys have seen the documentary, it came out July of last year, and we are also going to break down that as well. Then y'all know that all this information I'm giving to you guys is on there. If you guys have Amazon Prime or a Starz subscription, you guys are able to watch the documentary. If not, listen to my live, and we're going to continue to break it down. So immediately, like I stated, when Kendrick was found, people had a lot of questions, but Valdosta was not willing to give anything. They wanted this to be an open and shut case. They did not want to drag it out. They said it was an accident. And if you guys did not know, once a coroner rules a death an accident, there is no investigation to follow. So once it was ruled an accident, the family did not stop. They basically called onto the help of not only social media in 2013, but they called onto the federal. They were asking for a federal investigation because they already knew the town that they lived in. They already knew the people that they were around. They knew that they needed to call for the big guns straight out of the gate. They elected in people like Ben Crump. If you guys did not know, Ben Crump is like, I would say he's like the Al Sharp of our generation, if you must say. If I can, I'm not, hopefully that doesn't offend him, but he is someone that really tries to be the voice of the Black people. He is a lawyer. They also seek legal counsel just to be able to get video documents, get audio documents, get school logs, photos, statements, all these things that the Valdosta Police Department refused to look at. Well, once the investigation started, because it was granted around October 2013, a U.S. attorney announced that a federal criminal investigation was going to be underway. Once that opened up, it felt like the floodgates of what the fuck opened up along with it. So I'm going to go ahead and play you guys the first piece of evidence that really dropped. That felt like a bomb was dropped on not only Kendrick Johnson's family, but everyone that was watching. Now, I'm going to go ahead and be very clear that this is graphic. This is very hard to watch, but we're going to play it anyway. Like I stated, the family had gotten an autopsy done by, of course, the coroner with Valdosta, but they actually paid for their own independent autopsy. And what we found, you guys would not believe. I'm going to go ahead and play the news clip for you guys now.
It's the second time Jacqueline Johnson cried next to her son Kendrick's grave. The first time he was being lowered into the ground. This time he's being pulled out of it.
Did you ever expect you'd have to exhume his body?
No, I didn't expect to have to bury his body.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he'd found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia, after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said. But what Dr. Anderson did not find shocked them.
When we got the body for the second autopsy, that organs, the heart, lungs, liver, etc., were not with the body.
The brain?
The brain, they were all absent.
Every organ from the top of Kendrick's head to his pelvis gone, and his family had no idea.
We have been let down again. And when we buried Kendrick, we thought we was burying Kendrick, not half of Kendrick.
I'm not sure at this point who did not return the organs to the body, but I know when we got the body, the organs were not there.
So CNN contacted the two entities that had custody of Kendrick's body and access to his organs: the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which conducted the first autopsy in January, and Harrington Funeral Home, which the Johnsons chose to embalm and prepare Kendrick's body for burial days later. A spokeswoman for the state tells CNN after its autopsy, the organs were placed in Johnson's body, the body was closed, then the body was released to the funeral home. State investigators say it's their normal practice, but what happened after his body arrived at the funeral home was anything but normal.
What was in the place of the organs?
Newspaper.
Newspaper.
Dr. Anderson showed me the pictures of Kendrick's body he'd taken during the second autopsy.
It's a Black Friday ad, JCPenney ad.
Yes.
Stuffing that newspaper in like he was a garbage can inside his body. It's unbelievable.
I'd imagine that that's a different kind of pain.
Yep.
Why do you think that there would be newspaper stuffed in your child?
I never heard of that before. Never.
Neither had the founder of a National Embalming Academy contacted by CNN, who said it's not consistent with the standards of care in the industry. Nor had the president of the National Association of Medical Examiners, who told CNN he's never heard of this practice.
Why would the funeral home discard his organs and stuff them with newspaper?
The question is, why didn't he tell us?
So what exactly did the Harrington Funeral Home do with Kendrick's organs? And why was he stuffed with old newspaper? We went to their office to find out, but their response to us? No comment. However, in a letter to the Johnsons' attorney, Harrington Funeral Home owner Antonio Harrington denies he received Kendrick's organs. He writes in part, his internal organs were destroyed through natural process and henceforth were discarded before the body was sent back to Valdosta. It's another disappointing answer for parents determined to know what happened to their son before and now after his death. And they admit they're struggling.
Unbearable, just about. Only thing that wakes you up in the morning is just to keep pushing.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. This is unbelievable. Newspaper inside this young man's body. I understand there's an investigation into where Kendrick Johnson's organs went and why. What do we know about it?
Well, Anderson, we contacted the Georgia Secretary of State's office because they issued licenses to funeral homes. We wanted to check on the history of Harrington Funeral Home. And when we told them why we were calling, they decided that they too wanted to know where are Kendrick Johnson's organs, and they wanted to know more about this process, this practice of stuffing bodies with newspaper, something that they'd never heard of either.
How was the family's autopsy doctor able to determine the cause of death then?
Yeah, I asked him, if the organs aren't there, how can you determine how Kendrick died? Well, he says that essentially blunt force trauma was not in the organs. It was in the right side jaw, which was actually noted as bruised during the paramedics report on the day he was found. He dissected the jaw, which had not been dissected in the first autopsy, found bleeding under the skin. He dissected the left side as well, did not find the bleeding, and he concluded that that bruising indicated, also with the bleeding, that there was blunt force trauma, that Kendrick took that blow to the neck.
You know, Victor, one thing I hadn't noticed, and actually a viewer who works in gyms noticed and tweeted me about this the other day, was that it looks like all the mats are rolled really tightly, except for the one that Kendrick was found in. That seems to have had a large opening.
Okay, so that is the clip, you guys. That was one of the first bombshells that we heard back in 2013 when we initially heard about Kendrick Johnson. I remember this vividly. I remember this like it was yesterday, because once this got out that his organs were missing, there was a narrative painted that there was some type of organ harvesting that was going on. And that is very, very common when a lot of Black people do go missing or have these type of weird deaths, because, and I'm not downplaying that, because it's actually a very serious thing. Organ harvesting is very real, especially to melanated people. We know that. But what I'm saying in this case, that was kind of like a whole new narrative that was piled on top of this story. Now, what you guys heard was very key evidence when the family knew that something was not right with this whole accidental. He went down in a mat, even though his feet was twisted, even though his arms one was over his head and one was down by his waist. They knew that that wasn't right. So when they got his body exhumed, Kendrick had already been buried, you guys. When they got his body exhumed and paid for an individual autopsy done, they had no idea that their son was not whole. They stated in this video that they stuffed him with Black Friday ads. Black Friday ads. All of his organs, each and every one of his organs were gone. Now, it seems like when I was looking up who did it and why, it was like a finger pointing game. We don't know if Valdesta did it or if the funeral home did it. But what we do know is that this was looked into and charged by the funeral home. So the funeral home's actions was looked into, and there was an investigation, and I'm just going to tell that part now. When the federal case was being investigated, which was from 2013 to 2016, during that investigation, they stated that the funeral home discarding organs was not criminal. Although it was not the right thing to do, it was not a criminal act. We're going to sit on that. Sit on that. Sit on that. Sit on that. So, while more and more questions are coming out, because people are still invested, we are wholeheartedly invested in this case because we think it's organ harvesting. We know that he didn't put himself in that gym mat. Was he stuffed in that gym mat to get his organs? Like, this was all that we were thinking back in 2013. Our minds was every single where. But the main thing was, one, the classes that he missed because he went to gym midday. The classes that he missed, why wasn't the parents notified that he was not in class? Where were the other gym students to see him climbing this mat? Who was around? Who could say something? What can be done? Like, no one has anything to say? Now, during the federal investigation, people started to drop like flies. When I say that loosely. There was numerous people that was going to come out and speak out. They recanted their statements. The district attorney actually stepped down. The district attorney for the state of Georgia actually stepped down. The case was then moved to Ohio, the district attorney in Ohio. And that is where more information continued to come out. Also, let me just note, remember how I told you guys about Ben Crump? Ben Crump was also helping the family with their litigation. He was one that was trying to help the family get into this federal case. Do you guys know that because he was not a lawyer of Georgia, he had to basically request permission to act law in the state of Georgia. Can you guys believe that they denied his request? We have no idea why. He was not able to practice law in the state of Georgia for unknown reasons. So he had to step down from this case as well. That is just the tip of the iceberg when we talk about the Kendrick Johnson case and why everything is haywire. Now, there's another part of missing evidence that no one wanted to talk about, but it came out during the federal investigation, and it basically was about how the Valdosta Police Department left behind critical evidence. One of the main evidence was it is Georgia law that as soon as you find a deceased body, you are to call the coroner. They did not call the coroner until 5 hours later after Kendrick Johnson was found. So after they found him, they waited 5 hours. They then called the coroner, which is illegal by law. The room, we already know, the whole building was warm, according to Kenneth, and the freezer was not cold that Kendrick was inside. I'm going to go ahead and play you guys the video to detail other missing evidence while you guys think about what I just said.
Tonight, Victor Blackwell has exclusive information, some disturbing new evidence, photos and videos that only raise more questions. And we do want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is graphic, difficult to watch. Here's Victor's report.
It's the only video shot inside the Lowndes High School gym the day 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found dead. And with his parents' approval, we're showing it for the first time. Lowndes County, Georgia investigators say Kendrick's death was a tragic accident, that he climbed onto these rolled gym mats to reach for this shoe at the center of one mat, slipped, got stuck upside down, and died. County officials say the blood in this photo spilled after Kendrick's heart had stopped pumping hours after he had died. But Kendrick's parents say the photo and the video show something else.
There's enough evidence to show that Kendrick was murdered.
CNN has exclusively obtained the 15-minute video and nearly 700 photos of the scene taken by Lowndes County investigators. And for the first time, Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, are ready to look at them, including these pictures of orange and black gym shoes investigators found just yards from Kendrick's body.
Did these shoes belong to Kendrick?
No.
When you look at these shoes that were at the scene, what stands out to you?
The blood on the shoe.
But investigators say tests show the stains are something other than blood, so the shoes were not collected as potential evidence.
I don't understand why.
CNN took the photos to independent private investigator and former FBI Special Agent Harold Kopis. If you were on this scene, would this have been something you would have left?
No. Bag and tag.
There's no indication investigators ever even looked for the owner of the shoes or this hooded sweatshirt found a few feet from Kendrick's body.
And if you look real close, there's something on this particular cuff. And then the question is, was it blood? Did you test it?
According to the crime lab report, no.
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
For the Johnsons, there's no stronger indicator than this photo. It's of what appears to be blood dripping down a wall. Here's what Lowndes County Lieutenant Stride Jones told CNN about that wall in May.
And we tested it, and it was blood. Now, we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, whose blood was it?
Did you ever find out who it was or any involved?
No, as of now, we haven't, no. But
Okay.
It doesn't appear to be related to our crime in any way.
What do you think about the decision not to test it further?
You can't explain it. If you're running the crime scene, then you're going to say that's potential evidence. Obviously, we're going to check this out and find out who does it belong to.
This is an athletic gym. I mean, obviously, this is where they conduct various athletic classes and instructions at.
A kid couldn't have scraped their knee or arm or something and got that much blood on the wall.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 impacts.
The opinion of our crime scene personnel, after looking at it closely, the blood appeared as it had been there for an extended period of time. It didn't appear to be very fresh.
School gym. There is no way that they would allow whoever was supposed to clean this gym to leave that blood on that wall.
And there's the question, why was there no blood where they expected to see lots of blood? Remember the photo of that shoe investigators say was inches below Kendrick's head? Look at it again.
If he was inside the mat reaching for that shoe. Inside this tube, reaching for the shoe, and the shoe is beneath him. Why isn't that shoe covered with blood?
And what do you think about that shoe not being covered with blood? Do you?
It was placed there.
Hey,
Sheriff Prime. Hi. Victor Blackwell, CNN.
Chris Prime.
The Sheriff's Department has denied a cover-up, but we took the Johnsons' concerns to Lowndes County Sheriff Chris Prime. Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
The family has some concerns about why some things were not taken into evidence. There was blood on the wall.
I'm not going to discuss the case with you.
And why is that?
Because I don't want to.
Then, less than a minute after he'd invited us in,
What did you not understand that I said? I'm through talking to you.
he ushered us out.
Thank you, Sheriff Prime.
I don't believe this was an accident. I think this young man met with foul play.
The Justice Department is reviewing the pictures and the video to decide if it'll launch a federal investigation into Kendrick's death. But for Kendrick's father, the evidence is clear.
Someone murdered him. They should be in jail. They are covering it up. They should be in jail.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. So the former FBI agent says that the crime scene was contaminated. How so?
Well, Harold Copus says that it's crime scene 101, that when you're on a scene investigating, you wear the shoe protectors. Those are the blue booties you see on the crime shows on television. Well, look at these pictures. You can see here that these investigators are not wearing the shoe protectors, and it's not so much to protect the scene, rather to protect your shoes, but it's to protect the scene from anything you could track in. And Copus says because they're not wearing those protectors, this scene was obviously contaminated.
And clearly, you tried to talk to the sheriff there. They clearly didn't want to talk. Is there anyone tied to the investigation who is willing to talk?
Well, we went to speak with the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools, Wes Taylor, and we asked him about the blood on the wall and how long it had been there. Also, I mean, if the theory is true that he slipped into these mats after climbing onto the bleacher to get the shoe, are the mats still there? His answer to most of our questions: we are cooperating with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. He wouldn't go further than that.
You would think someone who works at that school would either be able to say, oh, yeah, I remember when a student, bled all over the wall in 6 different places, or not. It'd be interesting to hear if they've been talked to. What about the Department of Justice? Where are they in the status of their investigation?
The U.S. Attorney in Macon, who covers this district, his name is Michael Moore, and we've spoken with him several times, and each time he says that he is reviewing the information from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to work to decide if he will open a criminal investigation. Now, just a few weeks ago, we heard from the Civil Rights Division. They've said that they will not open an investigation through their department, but it still could be opened as a criminal investigation. Michael Moore says he could come up with that decision in a week or in a month. He doesn't feel rushed. He wants to make sure that he gets it right.
So yes, Michael Moore was the district attorney, and he did actually accept the case. That was shortly after this CNN news clip was produced. But as you guys hear, people are calling out the discrepancies within this story. People are calling out the obvious, the main things like that those multiple huge blood splatters. First of all, when I worked in an office, we had a special training about blood and how bodily fluids is like dangerous. So anytime that you have that, you are to immediately clean up that area, because blood is, could be seriously infectious. So you can get sick, other people sick from blood. So it's alarming that no one knows where this blood came from, but nor do they care. The shoe that was left at the scene, them not calling the coroner for 5 hours. The fact that when they did come, they were not in sterile equipment. They were not in didn't have shoe cover-ups on. The list goes on and on about the questions. But with each question that was asked, a short and sweet answer was given by the Valdosta Police Department. Really, really strange. So when Michael Moore, the district attorney, actually said that he was going to accept the case and that he was going to look into it, everyone immediately felt like this was going to be some type of answers. We're like, great, we already know Valdosta is racist. We already know how they get down out here. Let's put this in the hands of the people that could really get the job done. But like I previously told you guys, immediately when the case opened, things started dropping like flies. Witnesses, statements, all these things were gone. without a trace, even the footage. That was the $1 million question. Everybody knew that the high school, Lowe's High School, had a serious surveillance system. So they had cameras everywhere. When they actually requested the footage, hours of footage was missing. Hours. From the time that Kendrick was in the gym, hours were missing. After the gym, hours went missing. But you know what clip was actually included that did not have a split? When they were wheeling Kendrick's body out of the gym. That's when the camera started back working. When they questioned why there were so many gaps in the footage, while so many hours were missing, they said that their system is old and that it does this all the time. But it's really weird that all this is only happening when it comes to Kendrick Johnson. Like, y'all got everything else. These cameras work every other time. The students are talking every other time. Students are not talking. Why? So the agenda of cover up started to really be pushed. People are like, okay, y'all are literally playing in our face at this point. What the hell is going on? What really raised flags was after, like I stated, Ben Crump was denied access to practice law in Georgia. But all of a sudden we find out that Michael Moore steps down. He had made such a great move by accepting this case. Why did he step down? And when he stepped down, he went on to do private law stuff. He didn't even continue to work in that field. Huge pay cut, random. For what reason? Well, rumors started to spread that Kendrick Johnson had gotten into an altercation with some very popular brothers. And these boys, we're going to refer to them as the Bell Boys. The Bell Boys were very popular, and their father was an FBI agent. Yes, an FBI agent. So, allegedly, one of the Bell Boys was dating a girl, and Kendrick Johnson and the girl allegedly had hooked up. When the Bell Boy found out that they had hooked up, he felt some type of way, and he tried to approach Kendrick allegedly on the bus while they were on their way to or from a game, and they got into a fight. Well, the Bell Boys were very popular, like I said, because their father was an FBI agent. They were great athletes, but they also were good fighters. It is alleged that Kendrick got the best of the Bell brother, and the Bell brother was not happy. Allegedly, the Bell's father actually approached Kendrick and was like, you need to come to my house and y'all need to have a rematch of this fight. What type of parent does that? Number one, what type of parent says, hey, yeah, come to my house and let's have let's do a rematch of you fighting my son? What? So, of course, these are all the rumors that are spreading around. Kendrick's parents had no idea about this because they're not going to approach the Bell Boys about fighting or rematching their son. So once this started to these stories started to come out, more people continue to drop like flies around the town. And people suspect that it's because of the Bell Boy's father, because he has a strong presence in the FBI. And if anybody is familiar, when you deal with police, you deal with anything on that side of the fence, they stick together. They are ride or die for each other. Them or nothing. But on top of them sticking together, they have a lot of influence and they can scare people. In my opinion, they are able to scare people and really make people not want to deal with the issue. So once the rumors started to swirl around about what was going on, of course, the Bell Boys were swarmed in the middle of the day, guns drawn by the federal police. They were wanting answers. The boys alleged that they never had seen Kendrick the day of January 10th, that they did not come in contact. They don't know what was going on, and they maintained their innocence. But the people outside of Aldesta was not buying it. They were like, hell no. This is the only thing that makes sense. Nothing else in this case has made sense yet until this. So when the federal case was going on, of course, like I told you guys, hour-long information or of clips from the school was missing. Everything was missing. And then, like I told you guys, from 2013 to 2016, the federal case was being investigated. We already had Michael Moore step down, but then the case was transferred to Ohio. Why did the district attorney of Ohio also step down? To also do private practice law or independent law, whatever it's called. Weird. After he stepped down, the case was actually closed. And the reason why it was closed was because they said that it did not meet the high legal threshold to prove that this was a racist act or that this was anything more than an accident. This, to say the least, this shocked everybody. Everybody was like, what in the hell? Like, what? All these years, everybody dropping like flies. It's like no one wants to talk about this very serious issue. And everyone is missing the fact that this is someone's child, a 17-year-old child. And we already had the independent autopsy. We already know that this was not a case of asphyxia. We already see that his legs was crossed, his organs was missing. You guys have an answer for every single thing? Like, really? And none of it is really answers. You guys are just stringing us along. And if we're feeling this way, can we only imagine how the Johnson family feels? So, like I told you guys at the beginning of this live, there was an independent movie producer that wanted to talk about Kendrick Johnson. He is the same one that did the documentary on Mike Brown. It was called Strange Fruit, I believe, something like that. I'm sorry if I got the title wrong. But when he actually had a whole team of people that was going to investigate this as well. So they started to call and they started to request pieces of evidence. In the documentary that was released last July of 2021, we seen that they were able to actually get the redacted FBI reports for what took place during February 10th in regards to Kendrick Johnson, and they looked inside of the Bell Boys' testimony and statements. And they actually, like I said, the Bell Boys said that they never seen Kendrick Johnson that day. They had not came in contact with him. They were like close friends. They were like buddies. When we know that that's not the case, according to witnesses and people around the school. Well, when they got the redacted photos of the FBI, in the redacted statements and files from the FBI, they had a particular part, someone in the FBI had a particular job to literally trace all of Kendrick Johnson's movements, but guess who else's movements they had to step and trace as well? The Bell Boys. So every time that they saw Kendrick in footage, they had to write down when they saw the Bell Boys in footage. And coincidentally, all this was redacted. Really strange, really weird. Why are you guys redacting this? And again, this is the FBI files. And who works for the FBI? Well, when they got the unredacted files, they were able to see that Kendrick Johnson and one of the Bell Boys was actually seen on camera in the same hallway at the same time. So it does not fit the story of what the Bell Boys has said about them not seeing Kendrick Johnson at all on January 10th. We would not have known that if Finding Kendrick did not come out. I want to give you guys a little bit of information regarding this documentary because I was floored and kind of heartbroken and saddened when I found out how hard it was for them to pitch this movie. The family and the producer had high hopes to get this movie or this documentary on mainstream media because they wanted this to get out. They wanted Kendrick Johnson's story to get out, especially because they had worked on this for years and they had some information that needed to get out. Can you guys believe that they would not allow for this film to be shown? A lot of networks said that no, they're not covering it. They don't know enough about it. A lot of networks did not want to be bothered with it, did not want to, get involved. So thankfully, Amazon Prime and Starz picked it up. And when they picked it up, so many more people was able to find out about Kendrick Johnson. A lot of people had no idea because some people were children. 9 years ago, people were kids when the story was dropped. So now that people are grown, some people that live in the same town, that go to the same school, is like, yeah, it's really, really strange. It is really, really strange. There is no hope. The family never gave up hope. The family never stopped. They actually even had him exhumed again, you guys, for another autopsy. Another autopsy that was done in 2018, I forgot to mention. And when they did that, Kendrick Johnson's fingernails was cut down so low. Again, they were able to prove that he did not pass away from any asphyxia. It looks like he had blunt force trauma, and it looks like he was in a fight. So where do we go from here? We have all this information. We are learning about his story, but why is justice not being served for this? Well, Valdosta's sheriff actually announced that he was going to reopen the case and look inside of it, look inside to see if there was anything that could be done. And the reason why he did it is because a lot of the people in the community was asking for answers, was asking for justice. They've already been denied by the federal. They've already was open and shut case the first time in Valdosta. So although they had all of this evidence, they requested it again, even though they the ones that originally had it. Can you guys believe it was 17 files of evidence for Kendrick Johnson's case? 17 files. File cabinets, not files, I'm sorry. 17 file cabinets worth of evidence for Kendrick Johnson. We just found out last week that they closed the case again. And the reason why they closed the case is because they did not have enough evidence. It says it was insufficient evidence that shows that it was any cover-up or that it was against the original ruling of this being an accident. This was just a weird accident. Although we have evidence of random blood splatters, we know that his body is missing organs. His fingernails are gone. His face is distorted. Blood is not on the shoe that he was supposed to be retrieving, but yet there was a pool of blood on the ground, but this shoe is squeaky clean. 17 file cabinets. You guys was able to rule that there was not enough evidence to support that there was a mishandlement, that there was something wrong. It is strange. So the original clip that I played of the father was his initial reaction to finding out that they had closed this case yet again 9 years later. 9 years later, and doors are continuously closing on this family. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I had to prepare myself to do this story, I had to separate myself from being a mother and put myself in just trying to cover this story. Just be Audrey that y'all see on YouTube. And it was really hard for me. It's still really hard for me. Multiple times throughout this, I have been triggered because I am a mother and I could not imagine going through this. Yesterday, I watched his mother, Jackie, on live on TikTok. And like I told you guys earlier, their spirit is strong. Like, I just feel a strong presence when I watch them, when I hear them talk, when they talk about this case. And last night, I felt her strong spirit again, like by watching her. And I'm just showing empathy. I'm just trying to put myself in her shoes and also know that the fight is not going to stop. And a part of her spirit, you can tell, is tired. It's heartbroken. Like I told you guys in other episodes and other stories about similar to this, like in Lauren Smith Field's case, we don't get the luxury of being vulnerable. We don't get the luxury of grieving. We don't get the luxury of just being human. A lot of times we have to be the superheroes. We have to be the villains. We have to be everything above just to get justice. And here we are 9 years later and still no justice. Still no justice. And to add insult to injury, the same sheriff that closed the case last week is now offering a $500,000 cash reward out of his own pocket, allegedly, for information regarding anything Kendrick Johnson related to help them solve this case. What? I can't. 500,000 to get any information. Y'all have the information. You can't tell me y'all don't got the information. Y'all have the information. Why is so they're working overtime, in my opinion, to make sense out of the things that don't make sense. Y'all cannot explain to me how it was not a criminal act to dispose of a boy's organs that the family did not consent to. Oh, that's weird, but it's not criminal. How? Says who? Why was the coroner not called immediately by law? How was that not criminal? Why was he called 5 hours later? Why were these skilled professionals not in their required attire to process a scene? It's hurtful. It's hard to even equate words. It is downright hard. Like, the whole day I was going through the emotions because I knew I had to talk about this story, and I knew that I had to, of course, give you guys as much details as possible while still maintaining and being respectful to Kendrick, because he was a person. He was someone here. One of the most triggering things that I saw was on TikTok. Jackie, Kendrick's mom, posted the video of Kendrick's body being exhumed again. So he has been buried 3 times, you guys. And in the video, it showed Kenneth riding in the back of the vehicle with Kendrick while they went to go get the 3rd autopsy done. And it broke me down. Like, I was so hurt watching it. Like, if this is my child, like, we are not supposed to bury our children, right? Let alone 3 times. The same person 3 times. And to know that every time you guys are doing this, people are literally just spitting in your face and telling you that what you know is right is wrong. No one is helping you guys. No one is showing empathy. No one is doing anything. That will make a good person go bad or mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes the sanest people go crazy. And for me, that's how I feel when I think about this case. Last week, when they immediately talked about closing the case again, Jackie stated how they wanted to march again outside of the Valdosta Police Department. You guys probably don't know, but they did that for 8 long months before the federal district attorney agreed to take on the case. They marched for 8 months outside of the Valdosta Police Department, asking for justice, seeking for justice for Kendrick Johnson, I'm sorry, and they even were arrested. They were mistreated by these police officers. So the very thing that people love to act like was so long ago, what Martin Luther King did, what Malcolm X fought for, all these things they did in 2013 for 8 long months. And they did it again last week after they got the verdict. Anisha, exactly. Let me hug my babies. And it's deeper than that. Like, damn, I feel like I want to hug the whole world at this point. I damn sure want to hug Kendrick's mom. She gets on TikTok every day, you guys, and she talks about her son. She keeps his name alive. The whole family does. And that is what inspired me to even talk about this on YouTube, because I'm like, we all have to do this. We all have to keep his name alive. So that brings me to my final point. The family has started a petition. They want to petition President Joe Biden to actually look at the case. There have been many people, including like Kim Kardashian, that have stepped up and requested something to be done about Kendrick Johnson, and nothing is working. I actually tried to find the link to the petition. I even wrote Jackie, but she has not gave the link yet. So that is one piece. But the other piece is they are trying to do a National Justice for Kendrick Johnson rally at the nation's capital in DC. They're trying to do this Friday, April 8th of this year. So after this live is finished, I'm going to go ahead and post the information regarding and how to sign up. This is something that where you put your, in my opinion, where you put your money where your mouth is. This has been 9 long years, and where this lady is weak, we have to be strong, and we have to really do our part in making sure that this does not happen again, but we get justice for Kendrick Johnson. So like I stated, I'm going to post all of this in the description box if you guys are interested in getting more information about how to be a voice and be an advocate. I know that a lot of people may not want to do this. I am most definitely interested in it. I want to be a part of this cause. I want to figure out what we can do to do something. Like, I've never felt so hopeless in my life, but I'm a firm believer of every little thing counts. So I want you guys to make sure after I end this live that you look in the comments below and get the information regarding this rally that they are trying to do in DC. They have referred to Kendrick as the modern day Emmett Till, and I believe it. I believe it, but I don't want it to be like Emmett Till's family, where that lady on her deathbed admitted to lying, admitted to doing something. So, and then just a fun fact, the Bell Boys actually have went on to have careers. One is getting married, and once the information about the Bell Boys got out, people, of course, found his information. And I'm not saying this is what you guys should do, but they found out that one of the Bell Boys is getting married, and some people are like, yeah, we want to talk to the Mr. Bell. So I'm not encouraging violent behavior at all, but I'm just telling you guys that people are keeping their ears to the streets, and they are not letting the Bell Boys out of a chokehold. They want answers, and they really know and feel like the Bell Boys may be involved, as well as his father, allegedly. So take it what you will. Take it what you will. But I don't know. How do you guys feel after hearing about Kendrick Johnson? What are you guys' thoughts? I can pull up his mom's TikTok just so you guys can see just a little bit about what she does. She really does, like I said,
sorry,
go
but what's
hard.
happening? We're kissing for.
Oh God, she really does go hard for her son, and I'll show you guys. That's not it. Hold on. It's making me log in, and y'all know I do not know my login. I'm so sorry. I can't even show y'all because I don't know my TikTok login outside of my phone. So yeah, I definitely, Laura said they definitely have something to do with so is the dad. Yeah, absolutely. The documentary was what really like took it there with me, but I was still holding some type of hope because at that time that I watched it, I knew that the sheriff's department was looking into the case. They had already reopened it. This dad does not work for the police. He works for the FBI. I believe he's retired now, but those ties don't end. Those ties don't end. It's really, really sad. And even like a lot of people don't know that the family tried to file a $100 million suit against 38 people for, mishandling Kendrick's case and all this information and hiding evidence. They eventually dropped the case because, of course, they did not want that to hinder getting real justice. Like, they don't want to put a dollar amount on Kendrick's justice. So they took away the case. Can y'all believe that they tried to say that they needed to pay the people for doing that? These people are just downright dirty. Downright dirty. It's I can't get over it. Like, when I read that, I was like, excuse the fuck out of me. Garden Gal said, it makes one feel hopeless for our people. It's 2022 and things like this still happen while people are able to live on and live them lives while their families remain broken. Yes, that the Bell family has definitely went on with their life while Kendrick's family is still in the same place that they started in. And I'm not saying that as far as they haven't made waves, because they have made such a big name for their son. But when I say that they are still in the same place that they started in, I say it as far as, why can't they get justice? Why? All these people, everyone is covering this story. People are pointing out the main things of a problem, and yet nothing is being done. And to know that you guys said it was insufficient evidence. 17 file cabinets full of evidence, and that wasn't enough. And they said it was symbolic. The family said it was symbolic because he was 17 when he passed away. So it was a file cabinet for every year of his life. Like I said, they have a very strong spirit. Trinique said they totally mishandled this case, from the sister identifying the body, the shoe, by a shoe. Yeah, that is how they identified Kendrick, by his shoes, the white and orange shoes. To the students changing classes when they had a crime scene. Yep, 7 judges were recusing the case. It's crazy. Yes, the district attorney stepping down. Like, it's just like, it's sad. It's sad. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, you guys. I'm going to make sure that I link the information in the description box and in the comments below after I get done. And I will hopefully see you guys in the next video. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel and talk about Kendrick Johnson. Watch the documentary on Starz or Amazon Prime and be in the know. I keep telling you guys that, but it's a real deal. Like, be in the know, because you never want to be in this situation and be caught off guard. Laura, before I go, she said, I always wondered if the right person looked at this case who wasn't scared. All the people would have been in jail for a corrupt mess. Now, the Georgia district attorney, when he looked at this, he was not scared. He was not scared. When he made his press conference announcing that he had accepted this case as a federal case, he said that he looked over everything and he believes that it was mishandled. So that's why everyone was so shocked when he stepped down. When Matthew Moore stepped down, everybody was like, what do you mean? Like, you were hopeful. You were talking about this. You knew something was up. How did you step down? And why, when you stepped down, why was it moved to Ohio? So that was our little piece of evidence, and it was gone. Or our little piece of hope, I meant, and it was gone. It left with him. I wish someone could interview him privately to see why he really stepped down. I would love to know that. But for real, I'm done this time, you guys. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me, and I will see y'all in another one.
And thank you. Oh yeah, thank you, Ms. Marcel. Yo, all props to you. And just be you keep doing what you're doing. And you got a voice. Keep doing what you're doing. And you got a voice.